In this forecast, all modes of severe weather, including tornadoes, will be possible tomorrow across portions of the Midwest and Ohio Valley. And a foot of rain has fallen in the past 12 hours in Illinois. Who is next for the flooding? All of that and more is coming right up. Hey everybody, welcome back to another max velocity weather forecast, and today what we're going over is that severe weather potential over the next several days, and as well as the flash flooding concerns currently ongoing in Illinois. I'm going to give you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast. Let's hop right into it. So as of right now, there is a slight risk for severe weather that does include northern Minnesota and as well as northern Wisconsin and even portions of the upper panhandle in Michigan. There's also a marginal threat that extends all the way down through even northern portions of Nebraska. The main threats this afternoon and evening will be damaging winds as high as 75 miles per hour. The potential for very large hail does exist, especially in northwestern Minnesota. We could be talking as high as tennis ball sized hail, and also an isolated brief or weak tornado is not out of the question today. There's also another marginal threat for severe weather across the Ohio Valley. That goes from anywhere, almost all of Tennessee's included in that, as well as western and southern portions of Kentucky, and as well as a good large portion there of Illinois. That's mainly for this afternoon and really this morning with all the rain we've been seeing, and especially the extreme flash flooding in southeastern Illinois. Again, more on that later in this forecast, but any threats of severe weather will be mainly damaging winds up to maybe 65 to 70 miles per hour and maybe some isolated half-dollar sized hail. All right, let's take a look at the future radar back up in Minnesota later this afternoon into the evening hours. We'll have a couple of discrete cells back out north of Grand Forks, most likely developing right between about 7 to 8 o'clock this afternoon and really into the evening hours. Eventually by 9 to 10 o'clock, maybe a couple of storms up that direction. We'll have another area of storms though developing back up in northern Wisconsin, and those storms will have to be something to watch more closely for that damaging wind potential and eventually maybe forming into a line of storms. Eventually by midnight to 1 in the morning, maybe a couple of isolated storms left over in Minnesota. Overall, not a whole lot of severe weather is expected in southern Minnesota, but if anything does exist down that direction, I'm mainly forecasting damaging winds as it may be an isolated threat. Here's a look back over Wisconsin for later this evening into the overnight hours. We'll have a little area of storms develop, most likely back in the Michigan panhandle as well as into northern Wisconsin. Main threats with these storms again will be damaging winds maybe up to 70 miles per hour. Eventually going to the overnight hours by 2 to 3 in the morning, storms moving down to the south and east, going towards areas like Green Bay, going to the overnight hours and even early morning hours. Now we'll eventually see a line of storms develop back down in Michigan, and which would explain tomorrow's slight risk for severe weather that does include a good portion of Michigan. This may be extended in our next outlook, so keep that in mind. We might see a larger slight risk, but as of right now, that slight risk only includes Michigan, but there is a marginal threat that extends all the way back down into Kansas. It is a very large risk that we're looking at tomorrow afternoon. Main threat is damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour and the potential for maybe a little bit of isolated large hail. An isolated tornado or two may also be possible. That threat will mainly be in Michigan tomorrow. So again, those in central Michigan, that's where your main threat tomorrow will be. Here's a look at the timing for tomorrow. We'll start with Illinois and Indiana. We'll have a line of storms develop tomorrow afternoon and start to see by 5 to 6 o'clock. Storms going through northern Indiana near South Bend, all the way back down to the southwest, going all the way down closer to St. Louis. Springfield as well as Champaign seeing some storms during the early evening hours by 8 to 9 o'clock. Those storms are moving down to the south and east. Again, main threat damaging winds. Almost 100% coverage of rain is also forecasted. So we're going to see a decent amount of rain out of this, which again, not a lot of these areas need rain, but for those that do need it, it's going to be some beneficial rain for those. Eventually going to Thursday morning, most shower and storm activity will be clearing out. Back up into Michigan, we'll start to see some storms in the early morning hours of Wednesday. You can start to see up near Alpena as well as near Traverse City, some storms going through those locations. By 9 to 10 o'clock, storms moving down to the south and east near Mount Pleasant. Saginaw going to be seeing some storms during the early afternoon hours and eventually going through Flint, eventually Detroit, and 3 to 4 o'clock. Eventually by 5 to 6 o'clock, storms moving down to the south and east, and eventually most of Michigan will be clearing out in the late evening into overnight hours, maybe a couple of isolated showers or weak storms still remaining after that. By the way, for those that were wondering, there is a significant amount of flash flooding unfortunately ongoing in southeastern portions of Illinois. As I mentioned earlier in this forecast, unfortunately, that rain has now accumulated to over a foot of rain. Now you can see just south of noon and as well as near 1:30, there's already been 12 inches of rain. Again, in southeastern Illinois, a lot of areas in this area have also seen between 6 to as much as 12 inches of rain outside of that one reading. So there's been a lot of rain. By the way, if you go only 30 miles off to the northeast near Hudsonville, that area has only not even seen a quarter of an inch of rain. So you can just see the big difference. This one area seeing this one storm that just keeps redeveloping back out to the northwest that's slowly moving southeast. It has been a mess there, and the rain is still continuing. Prayers for those areas. Hopefully everybody's staying safe. Again, turn around, don't drown. All right, that's it for this forecast. Make sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting and All Dents Repair.